So, welcome everybody to the Paradise Group 13th annual meeting. And in today's video, or today's meeting also, we are going to be covering how to network mainly, because I've gotten a lot of requests because we're going on a networking event in Tokyo in 1 year and 2 months from now. And I've gotten a lot of requests from you guys on how you network. And a lot of people know you should network, but not exactly on what method you should use and how you really do it. And it's not so obvious, to be honest. Now, the 4 networking styles we'll be covering, I will be taking shortly here. How you can use them in practice, and also 2 new introductions from some of our members as well, which I think is quite interesting here. So, to start everything off, I'm going to use this example in this video for quite a special one. I like to think of networking a little bit like dating. Now this might sound a little bit goofy, but I'm going to explain it like further, basically inside the video. And it's these 6 types of networkers, which I think is the most common ones. And most of you guys will probably see yourself in them, in 2 or 1 of these ones, but maybe more of them as well. Now the first one is the flirt, the second one is the detective, the third one is the promoter, the fourth one is the success, the fifth one is the man, and the sixth one is the comedian. Now we'll be covering all of this and how you can use them in practice during this basically meeting. And in the end we can probably go through which ones you think is the most reasonable, and if some of you guys are this ones type of like basically networkers. And you can find a lot of these things in dating and as well as in like socializing and everything like that, so you'll probably find yourself similar to some of them at least. So, the best way to start this is by taking some dating examples here. Now the flirt is usually a person who's very good at flirting with girls. You know the guy in probably your school, or maybe you know him before, who's very good with his words. He says some like sometimes outlandish stuff, sometimes very risky stuff, but he gets away with it. And most people who get like all the game and has basically the most options, they aren't the people playing it safe, who's giving all the gifts, who's just very secure and doing the usual things. You're very like outgoing. You go for special things which most people don't do, and yeah, quite shameless in your way you produce yourself. So let's go to the second one. We'll do like concrete examples of this basically at the end of this video, but to start off, we'll just go through it quite briefly here. And probably my favorite is the detective. Now this one is very important for you guys who like networking, because he is very good at researching. Now I think Keenan and a lot of his other guys here has been to many car meetups, and I think this one could be quite useful for you there. Now the detective is good at research, as basically as I just said, so he finds out everything he can possibly by the person he's gonna network with, the person he finds interesting in your basically like a certain field. Then you get to know all these questions. For example, basically if you take a girl example here, you slide in some time like what's your favorite flower, what's your favorite song, what's your favorite food, what's your favorite drink, and then you can slowly start incorporating that into every time you meet that person. And in that sense, you can get to know the person a lot better. You do a lot of research on them, and in that sense, you could also increase your chance of basically closing them as a client. And I think this one you should really take notice of and try to learn as basically as your best of abilities. And then we also have the promoter. This one is quite a tricky one, and he basically befriends everyone in the girl's friend group. You probably know that guy who basically wants to date a girl, and then he gets to know everyone in her friend group, maybe even befriends her parents and yeah, her dad and mom, gets to become a very good friend with them. And what soon will happen when he does that is basically everyone in the girl's social circle will start talking about how amazing John is. John is such a good guy. His mom and dad will talk like, yeah, so John is such a good guy. Why are you dating Marcus when he isn't as good as John? And when the girl basically has 7 of her closest friends constantly talking about how good someone is, and constantly saying what good things he does, she will slowly start rethinking about what a good option John is. And in that sense, you'll become and see basically more amazing from what she thinks. So how you can use this in basically networking is that you can get to know everyone around the person you really want, start becoming good friends with their friends, start becoming good friends with maybe their wife, or not exactly their wife, but maybe their children. You start to know them a little bit, for example, maybe buy them a Christmas present or something like that when they have their birthday. And slowly they will start talking about how good you are, and that can give you a lot of benefits. Just give me a second here. There. Now, the next one we have is the success. Now, this one is a quite tricky one. You aren't really the best looking guy. You've probably seen this guy before, all these beautiful women dating these ugly guys. You've probably seen that before, right? Like these old ugly guys who's dating all these hot, beautiful female models, basically. And the motto of this guy is usually, I'm not the best looking right now, but I'll become so successful that she has to date me. The girl will have to give me attention because I have everything else except my looks. So you basically cope with increasing your value as a man, and you really don't have certain things. So you become so successful that she can't really look for like past how good you are. You know, you might not be the best at certain things, but if you're so great at something else, they will have to look as you as a perfect option maybe for the company. Now then we have the man. Now this one is a very important one in just networking senses, because if you're the man, you're the man, you know. And what he has is that, for example, if you are networking, people will always say, yeah, he's done that, he's done that. He's such an amazing guy to have in your company. He's worked with me before, he has such a great reputation. He's always providing so much value to me and my company. You should really like consider him. He has a big reputation and that creates a lot of leads for him. So whenever you build a great reputation, you start becoming a bit of a character, then people will start to talk about you. And in that sense, you have a lot of leads in their like friend circles, which will hear about you. And if you're ever like talking with someone, and she's and her friends maybe comes in, her friends can basically say, yeah, this guy is so great. He has this car, he has this that, he has this apartment. He's doing so well in business. Then she will start thinking that yeah, this guy really is so good and he provides so much value to everyone that I might think of him as basically like a dating option basically. So the man is a very important one, and I think this is a very great option for you who's come a little bit further in your business, and you're really not the networker who's just started. You're the networker who's quite experienced. And then we have the comedian. You all probably know like this very funny guy who can make everyone laugh. And it's very practical in the networking sense as well. It's not only practical in getting friends and everything, and you have to think of like the comedic like theme to not be too extreme because that's not really suitable in a network environment, but just be a funny guy. And this guy makes everyone feel good and they feel bubbly inside. And when that happens, they usually connect him with those feelings that he creates. So if you're always around someone who makes you happy, who's always making you like giggly, you will start incorporating that guy as the person who makes you so happy, not what he says. So you will start incorporating that guy as someone who's making you feel good, who's making you feel happy. And then maybe if they have a marketer currently, and that guy isn't as funny, isn't as good, and they do the same work, you'll probably consider this guy instead of the other guy because he makes you feel so much better. Now this is a very important one. It's not everyone is the most funniest person in the world, so you don't need this one. We have 5 other ones you can consider as well. But if you are funny, don't take it for granted when you're in a networking sense. You don't have to be too serious. Now, if we use basically the girl example, it's quite a good one here. So if you, for example, are going out with a girl or something like that, or you're maybe is her friend or something, and you're a very funny guy, she will unconsciously basically talk about this and basically think about this is that you make her much happier than her current boyfriend does. Let's say your name is John and your basically the girlfriend's name is maybe Marcus as well here. Then she will say, John is making me so much happier. Every time I'm with him, he makes me giggle. He makes me smile. I feel so great when I'm around John. But when I'm with Marcus, it doesn't make me feel the same way. Why did I fall for Marcus? Oh, maybe she could consider John as a possible option. And in that sense, you have created your positive feelings, it says here, and they connect those feelings with you as a person, and everything around you will be connected to happiness and bubbly feelings, and they want to do more business with you. So this is a very powerful one, and it can be quite hard to incorporate in a business sense, but if you manage to do that, you have very much success in front of you. Now this is also an important part I think you should consider a lot. I've done this a lot in my career. I haven't gotten too far in my career right now, I'm still very young, but in the sense that of all the tips I'm going to give you today, I think this one is probably the most important one. Because every time I do this, I get a 10x return on my investment. It's pretty much guaranteed, in some sense at least. So, gift yourself to the top. Now what do I mean about this? If you match the detective with this, it's perfect. Because the detective, as I covered before, everything I'm going to cover in this meeting today has something to do with those 6 styles I just covered. These are just certain categories in the different styles. So gift yourself to the top is a part of the detective skill set. Now, what the detective does, as you know before, he finds out everything about the person he wants to network with. He finds out their favorite wine, their favorite cigars, their favorite books, their favorite cars maybe, their favorite toys, their favorite everything, you know? And then he incorporates that into their everyday conversation with them. This is such a powerful one. So, if you for example know that maybe Adam likes wine, a certain type of wine, she likes a red wine which is very specific, then you know that he basically loves that wine. And the next time you meet him, you maybe say, yeah, I bought you this wine, I thought you would like it. And then he will start asking himself, oh, okay, he did me this great favor, why did he do this? And probably say, oh, you don't have to do that. And I say, yeah, I'm just trying to be nice. Now he will subconsciously think, how can I basically be nice to this person as well? And I've seen this a lot with the Paradise Group, for example. I know a lot of you guys have provided a lot of value for me, doing, for example, free logos, free marketing, free website designs, a lot of these nice favors to me. And what I've done is basically create a lot of value for you, hopefully as well, connecting you to some great people in the server, being able to create some investment opportunities as well. I had 2 people reach out for investments, and I was able to gain them $1,500 from one guy, and then also $5,600 from another investor, which is not the biggest amount, but for a guy who's 15 and a guy who's 18, I think it's quite good. Now, you find out their favorite things. Maybe they have a special brand of cigars they like. Maybe they have a favorite book. And then you buy it to them as a gift. And then they will subconsciously ask themselves, how can I make a favor to this person? And that favor, they would probably ask you. They'll say, okay, but how can I make this up to you? Why are you so nice to me? And they say, well, John, I know that I bought this thing, and I don't want anything back to you. And I said, well, can I do something for you? They say, well, you know, probably my business is based off referrals. Could you maybe refer me to one of your closest friends who wants to sell their houses? Maybe you're in real estate. That says, oh, well, actually, my friend right now is not satisfied with this real estate broker. I could recommend him to you. And then you can make maybe $50,000 just on that commission, just by buying this little wine bottle. That's like, what is it, like $6-7? So it's very powerful to gift yourself. An example of what my friend did, he's a great friend I have, he's also in the real estate business, was he has a very particular one. He's a very detective, and he's also a comedian in his basically networking style. He taught me a lot about this. Now, every time he meets a guy in the real estate market, he has a certain type of things he wants to gift them. Now, the first thing he asks them, if they're a car, for example, enthusiast, is, what is your dream car / favorite car? And they, for one time, said, yeah, my favorite car is a Jaguar. Now, Jaguar is a quite expensive car. I think it's about $80,000. Keen has to correct me. Keen, how much is it? A Jaguar, you know, one of those nicer models?
On average, yeah,
Yeah,
about
80,000.
80.
Exactly. And what he does then, when he hears that his favorite car is a Jaguar, he incorporates the 2 things I just told you about, the comedian and the detective, and incorporates that into a gift. Now, he can't go out buying a car for $80,000 to a random guy. He doesn't have the fucking budget for that, you know. No one will buy a car to every person they see. It's not profitable. So what he does is a very fun thing, which I at least think is quite fun. And even if they don't think it's fun, they will probably keep it around, and they'll, every time they see it, they'll think of him. He buys them a car Jaguar that is a toy. Exact replica of the one they want, but in a toy form. And then he gives it to them. Next time they meet, they say like, hey John, I know your favorite car was a Jaguar. I can't go out buying you this $80,000 car. But what I could do is that I bought you the second best thing. I bought you this toy Jaguar car. Here you go, and you can. That's just a small little subtle thing. But they think like, yeah, this guy has really thought about me. He really wants the best for me. He's taken the time to notice what my favorite car is. He's went out the way and bought me this toy. And then he will subconsciously also think, how can I make this up to him? He has connect something like happy and fun with you, and then you'll gain a lot of value from this. Now, I recommend this especially if the Keenan bro. I think you should use this because you're a lot of these like car meetups. What do you think of it?
Um, yeah, my suggestion though might be some type of merchandise for the car though.
Like a
You
shirt or
can
something?
use it on a daily basis and you see it every day, like
Like
a hat,
a
for
like a
example.
hat. Yeah, I get what you mean. This is more like for the fun of it. It's not really for the practical use. So that's why I took like the
Mm,
car example. That's what he does at least, and I know he's gotten good returns from it.
yeah.
He got one client for 20,000, 30,000, $50,000. You know, so he's made a lot of this.
Mm,
And he's in real estate sales, so these people are persons who basically want to sell their real estate or want him to work on the real estate deals with them. And by just doing this small little gesture to them, he was able to sign a lot of these contracts for these big amounts of money. Now, another important part, it's very simple, very, very simple. That's why I'm nothing else here. It's be seen. Now, for example, I live in a city here in basically a city in Sweden here. It's called Jönköping. It has about 150,000 people. Now, the main objective you should have, if you ever live in a city you want to live in at least, I don't want to live here because I don't like it too much, is that you should get seen as much as you can. Now, let's say you live in Los Angeles. Let's say Los Angeles, or maybe Koh Samui is even simpler, or Bangkok or something like that. Let's say Bangkok, it's probably more relevant to us. Then, if you want to network with people in Bangkok, if you're seen everywhere, you're seen at the networking events, you're seen at the local charities, you're seen at the concerts, you're seen at the event, you're seen at the football game, you're seen at everything to do with something like that's relevant to everyone else, they will see you there. They will soon start to question themselves, who is this person? What does he do? How can I get in contact with them? and they just sees you everywhere. You become a little bit like a small celebrity. You're not famous or anything, but everyone knows who you are because they see you everywhere, and you will get a big network. And when people start to see you everywhere, for example, here in Sweden where I live in a city here. I'm quite young still, and when I see a young person like myself being in all these events, for example, football games with a bank, or football games with an investment company, or a hockey game, or maybe a restaurant with a big group of people who's all in suits, or at the seminar, or at the network event, or at the big office, they start to think, what does this 18-year-old kid do? Like, what does he do? How can he be in all these like scenarios? And simply put, I got put in one situation where I was with one company called Global Invest. I was on a meetup with them. They invited me to their event. Then the bank was in that event and started talking about what I do to them. Then they invited me to a hockey game. Then I started talking with other people in that. And they invited me to a seminar. Then I talked to other people in that. And they invited me to an investment meeting. And then from there it just scaled over and I was seen everywhere. And people started thinking, what does this guy do? And I get a lot of like people asking me, yeah, what do you do here? And hi, hello there. I've seen you before in this meeting, like 60, 70-year-old guys sometimes. And it just becomes quite relevant because you stick out like a sore thumb. Because most people you see on these events are like 60, 70 years old, maybe 50, 40. They don't see people in our ages there. So they become very curious, and I really recommend this. So be seen wherever you are, be seen. And I know a lot of people who's built great careers from just being seen everywhere. Especially if you're in entertainment or maybe in, for example, movies and stuff like that. It's very important to be seen everywhere because then they start questioning it. For example, I know a guy, he was in Hollywood, he wanted to become a film actress or actor. He went there and he went to all this like glamorous Hollywood stuff, and he went into all these things. And soon he went like a movie director, and he got a basically like a side job on that, and then he scaled away from there. So just be seen at everywhere you can, and yeah, I think it's gonna end quite good with you on that part. Now, get a reputation of being an expert. This one is very important. Don't get a reputation of doing that, doing this, doing that. Like switching business model every week. Yeah, I do social media marketing. Then the next week they ask you, yeah, what do you do? Yeah, I do export and import. The next week someone asks you, yeah, I do dropshipping. Then they know you're not an expert in anything. You don't do anything. You're not best at anything you like at all. What you should get a reputation for is not switching business models. It should be a reputation of being the expert in certain business models. So let's say, for example, you're an export or expert basically in export import. You're great at shipping. Then they know that every time they talk to you, they can always ask for a favor or maybe doing business with you in your shipping, and they know you're the best in it. Now they don't want to do business with someone who's decent at everything. They want to do business with someone who's the best in certain things, and they will make a lot more money from being the best in something than being mediocre at a lot of things. That I can promise you. And you want to be expert in not like a specific like export and import. You want to be more specifically an expert in something specific in that part, because then you can make the real money when you really niche into it. Be extremely helpful. This one is a big one as well. Like always do more than you're paid for. For example, if you work at a company, always come earlier than everyone else. You don't have that culture in Sweden. You have maybe a job where you work at a real estate firm or something like that. You come at 8 and you end at 5. That's everything you do. If you come at maybe 6 or 5 in the morning, you check in then, and then you leave at maybe 10 at the night, then you do a lot more value than everyone else. What better things do you have to do basically when you come home? And when they say that you're checking out latest every day, you come earliest every day, you work hardest every day, you maybe don't take lunch breaks. I can take myself as an example. I worked at a real estate firm before when I started, and everything started how I got all my opportunities was I basically started from the bottom when I was 15. What I did was I basically cleaned these like staircases. You know, big real estate basically houses has big staircases, and I was there with my mop and my trusty old brush, and I had to brush away all the dust from all these big bare like stair houses, like whatever it's called in English, like stair houses, whatever it's called, and all these like big real estate markets or big real estate houses. And I had to pick all this grass from the property so it looks more clean. I had to cut all these bushes. And I did that very carefully, very hard, and I worked super hard for that. And then I got an internship at a bigger real estate firm, and I always came like first. I always leave last. I always asked many questions, tried to be more relevant. I asked them to take a coffee with me. I got to know them better. Then I outcompeted everyone else I was competing against for that internship. Basically I gained it, and then they recommended me for that job. And then I started working at another real estate firm, and there I got a special thing where I basically do BRFs, and I do special booking for that, and I have meetings and conferences for a special setting up of new real estate projects. So you can grow a lot of things from just being very useful. For example, one of them are gonna now invest in the Paradise Group when we're moving to Koh Samui. So just by being extremely helpful and always do more than you're paid for, you're soon be paid for more than you do. That's a good quote I like to live by. So yeah, always provide more value than you get, or basically than you get yourself, and then soon you'll basically get more value than you ever provided. And don't be pushy about it. Like, don't go up to some random guy at the networking event and say like, "Hey, what do you do and how can I help you?" And then he'll probably say, "I don't need any help currently." Well, I would gladly help you with anything for free, and then be super pushy. That doesn't give away, like, it gives away that you're too desperate. You don't want that. You want them to think you're professional and you're being very helpful in a sense that you're trying your best, you're really putting in as much effort as you can into the company, and you show a lot of grit. You don't want to seem desperate and pushy. And that's exactly what you need to take in consideration, how you keep a balance. And don't invite them to your place too early. We don't want any like one-night stands here in networking, for example. The first time you meet someone, for example, in a networking event, you shouldn't ask them for a favor. If you meet someone first, like all maybe they do real estate, you shouldn't ask them for a deal with them the first time you ever meet them, because they don't know anything about you. You should try to use a detective and try to learn more about them, meet them another time, and then you can start talking about them. You should never invite them over to a coffee or maybe up to your apartment to basically talk to them or hang out or something like that before you met them a couple of times. Because it just come up as quite creepy, and they probably will say no if you just invite them to your place right away. So be careful with that, and don't be too pushy in the beginning, I would probably say. Don't ask for any favors, like big favors. For example, yeah, could you help me with this? Could you help me with that? Could you employ me? That doesn't work, unfortunately. You should always prove your things by having a good reputation and using maybe the man or the promoter as your main sources. You should never just ask them, yeah, could you help me with this? Could you help me with that? It should come naturally. Maybe gift yourself to it. Build a connection first, like I just said. So try to become better friends with them before you ever ask them for anything, or before you ever try to hang out with them outside the net, like the business networking sense. So let's say you use the Tokyo networking here now, for example. It's probably the closest we have here. You should not go up there to a random guy in Tokyo and say, "Hey there, do you want to invest in my company? I would gladly do that." No, what you should say is basically, "Yeah, are you gonna be in any other events soon here in Tokyo?" And if he says, "Yeah, I'm gonna be in an event actually in 1 year and a week from now, maybe something like that," and they say, "Yeah, is it blah blah blah," and they try to find out you can get an invite to that as well, and then he will see you again. "Oh, do you remember me?" And then you're building a connection with him. That's what's important, and then you can ask him for the favor. Don't ask him a favor the first time he ever sees you, because he hasn't built any relationship with you. Keen to details. I think Robin likes this a lot. Watches, for example, is a very great way to start a conversation. I was in basically like a networking event with the investment company, and it's a lot of these like high net worth individuals because they want them to invest in their own companies. And I saw a guy had this exact clock, an Omega Speedster. It's a very special one. Robin, have you seen it before?
Yeah, I got it in the Moonswatch version.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like quite a special one too because it's Omega and everything, so not everyone knows it.
Yeah, but I don't have the I have the Swatch version,
Oh,
like the
but you,
collab they had.
but
But
which?
it's still that
Oh
watch,
shit.
but it's you can search it up the like Swatch Omega Speedmaster.
I'm gonna search. Could you send it to me in Discord? I will gladly look at it.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Go for it.
It's
That's quite
I
funny. You
just
actually have it.
yeah wait give me a minute.
Was it good looking in real life as well from your part? The one you got for?
Like, to be honest, I don't like it that much. It's a bit plasticky if you say it like that. Like you'll understand when you see it. It's a collab they had.
Yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of Omegas. I saw it and I knew which clock it was because I've studied some of the high-end clocks at least and Rolex and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Oh
sent it in the
no, no, no.
chat.
Oh, I don't like that.
No, I don't like it too much either, but I have it. I was in the store and like there are a bunch of colors and they didn't have too many in stock, so I just picked that one. Like if they would have this in stock, I would take this probably.
Yeah,
If you look what I
it's the
said now,
Speedster, right?
Speedmaster, yeah.
Yeah, Speedmaster. It's much better.
Yeah, you see, now this both are the Swatch, but like one of them are just black. They're like made of this biomaterial. I'm not sure what the name was, but something like that.
Hmm.
It's not an expensive watch, but looks expensive.
Yeah, the one I have in the picture here, for example, I think it's worth it like $10,000, I think, approximately.
No, I think like 4K.
Has it went down so
What was
much?
one?
I know when I looked at it like 2 years ago, it was like 10K.
No, that's like 4K, I would say.
It is?
4 or 5, yeah, something like that. I'll check it out. I'll look it up.
Oh, you can just look it up. It's fine. I'll keep going while you're looking at it, Robin. Just give me a notice when you know.
Yeah, I'll do.
Yeah, so just imagine, for example, Robin here. He knows a lot about these watches. And he's at one of these like network events like I was with a global invest company. And then he sees this Omega Speedmaster. Then he knows exactly what type of thing it is, and then he starts asking questions about it. It's just such a perfect conversation starter. And you look like you really know your stuff, and that you're keen to detail. It's very important. Being keen to detail. Just small little things like this builds a lot of reputation about yourself and a lot of these like awareness things. Because then they know you're trying to like basically in the game and you've studied a lot of things in this type of field. It's good to know the watches at least. I've studied Omega, Patek Philippe, Rolex. That's just some of them, but the smaller watches, for example, if you ever see someone with a watch that basically looks quite fancy, you see the basically like the name of it, write it down, then you search it up when you get home, learn as much as you can about it, and then next time you see him, you start questioning him about the watch. That's a good basically tip I can give you. Now, you can basically spot them by looking quite closely, usually in the middle or at some characteristics. And a lot of people have these very similar ones. A lot of them have this special type of Rolexes like Datejust or GMT or other type of Rolexes or maybe some special Omegas. It's quite a small selection of the most common ones at least. But if you study that for maybe a couple of hours, a month maybe maximum, you'll learn a lot about these things. What did you send? So what is it like? Yeah, 50,000 crowns?
Yeah, almost. But the
Almost
Chrono
50,000.
Chauffeur is a bit overpriced because all of the fees and stuff. So
Yeah.
at the dealer, if you just took it off them, you'll probably get 45K Swedish.
No, that's not too much then. But still, it's the
No.
less it's worth, it's probably the more exciting it is when someone knows it.
Yeah, and also it could be a newer one that's worth like 6K dollars.
Yeah.
This yeah, it's a bit older one on the picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know exactly which year it is.
Yeah, no, it's pretty hard to tell just like that, but you can see it's a bit older. The newer one looks like cleaner and stuff. You see, it got some dents on the top. So, like if you see right there,
Where?
okay, in the top near the jacket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there.
right
Yeah, yeah.
there.
It doesn't look too good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get
but
what you
still,
mean
it's a
there.
cool watch.
Yeah, it's quite cool. Yeah, and it's very specific when someone like knows exactly your watch, because most people only know Rolexes.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a good one. Try to learn to be keen to certain details. A lot of people have this type of watches, and it's quite common that you see someone with either an Omega. Patek Philippe is not too common if you're in Sweden, but Omega is quite common here, and Rolexes in some senses are quite common to see as well. So be keen to detail. Casio is quite common at least, and it's not too expensive, so it's quite cool when you spot that.
Breitling, um, a bunch of Swedes here.
Yeah, yeah, that as well. And Richard Mille you won't see too much in Sweden either, so
No, I
don't
don't
learn
think
that one.
there's a lot. No, I don't think there's a lot here.
Yeah, you should probably if you're in Dubai, yeah, you go for Richard Mille and Rolex and stuff. But if in Sweden or some other poorer country, don't go for the most expensive ones in the world, you know. So this one I think is super important, and I would like to be better at this as well. I think I'm decent at it at least. But be a connector. Being a connector is phenomenally important, very important. Because what it basically builds is that you might know someone and they are in need of, for example, an insurance salesman, then you know the best person in insurance and you connect them to that. Someone needs basically a good, great doctor, they need for their basically their company or something like that, then you know the best doctor. They want to help with basically like, well, what can we take as an example? Maybe they need help with a sales job maybe, or marketing. Then you know the best marketer. They need help with investments. Then you know a very good investor. Then I think being a connector is great. Because then they know that you know a lot of people. They know that you have a great connection network. And they start connecting you. This is very important. Like, if you know a lot of things and you connect them with a lot of value, they will start connecting you to that value. Like I said with a comedian before, they start connecting you with the happy feelings they get from his, basically like their laughs and their bubbly feelings. They will start connected to you as a person, and they want to be more around you. The same could be said about the connector. If they get to know that you have a lot of connections, they know that you know the best person in insurance, you know you're the best person in cars, you know the best person in sales, you know the best person in marketing, they will know that a lot of these high-end and great people want to hang around you, and they start incorporating you with high net worth, high value, great people, and they know that you have all these contacts and you're very useful. Here you're also providing a lot of value for people, and you soon will get that value back to you. I know that for sure. For example, today, the person I had a meeting with, he was in the, for example, shirt sales. He knows who he is, and I know a person who has the biggest goalkeeping Instagram. Now that's perfect because then he can sell his shirts at his Instagram maybe potentially. Then I connect him with the biggest person who has the biggest Instagram account ever for goalkeepers. I have him in my server. His name is Jack. And then I connect him with a person who wants to sell goalkeeping t-shirts. And there I've created a great contact for someone, and I know potentially I would make a lot more money from him in the future because he will become a part of the Paradise Group. Just from that little favor, he might create a great business around it, and then I know I will create a lot of value when he actually moves with us. So that's a good way to do. Basically, like have a lot of connections and then provide them with you. So you know the best people in every field. Clear up your social profile, please. Please do that. I've seen so many people, it's insane. I know a lot of these people who wants to become successful in business, and it's fallen short so many times. It's no longer the 1970s or the 1990s or something like that when it's hard to find these things about you. Everything you've ever done as a mistake, they will be able to find on internet. And a lot of companies, before they ever do business with someone, they search up who the person is. And I've seen so many deals fall flat for one of my friends. It's so sad to see. He has an Instagram account, and 3 years ago he had this had faced hats. It's not this guy though, but he had faced hats. He did had like shots where basically was drinking an entire beer bottle and from his mouth and shit, and videos of stuff like that. And he didn't take that down from his Instagram account and his Facebook account. So he had this very specific username, which I don't want to name today, but it's not a good one for business sakes at least. And then he had these very specific videos which didn't match really what you want as reputation for your company. And he was working with a deal, trying to close a deal with a company. And then he started looking through his socials, and he saw that his reputation on his social platforms wasn't too good. He had all these beer drinking shots, he had all these parties and everything that did look very low quality. He didn't get the deal for that. Don't have a bad social platform. I told a lot of you people here. Pontus, for example, he didn't have a social platform before. I told him to clear it up and make it more professional. Even so much as your Discord account you should fix, I think. A lot of people have this like Fortnite Discord profile pictures or these bad bios where it says like slurs and shit or something like, yeah, I love playing video games. You shouldn't have that if you're serious about business because even such a small thing like business servers or maybe someone finding your business account on Discord or maybe just us finding your account and seeing you have a Fortnite profile picture, that will make a certain mind in basically your head that this guy is connected to Fortnite, and you don't want that as your social basically experience. So clear up your social platforms and don't make it look like this guy who's has face tats, who's taking beer pongs and shit. Make it more professional. It's such an easy thing to fix, and people will absolutely search you up. LinkedIn is a very big part right now. You basically don't even need a business card no more, because the first thing they ever do when they hear about you, you go on their LinkedIn profile, and from there you get all the information about them. It's so simple. Like I know a lot of people they like basically stop using business cards. They don't want those experiences anymore, and they just use their LinkedIn. It's so simple. And if your LinkedIn is also very bad, I think it's a lot of these deals will go out the drain. And you might not even think about them because they won't tell you, I don't want to do business with you because your social platform is bad. They will just start basically fading away from you and don't want to do business with you. So take this into consideration and try to fix it. Learn how to brag about yourself without bragging about yourself. This might seem a little bit hard how you do that, but it's quite simple. We all know this person is very cocky, always brags about themselves, and you don't really like him because he becomes so cocky and he has too much confidence. And yeah, I don't like this person. He needs humbling, you know. His self-esteem is maybe basically like through the top, and it's annoying to talk with because all he's talking about is like good ideas. Yeah, maybe you talk to him and it's just like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling even better. Or maybe you say like, I made 5,000 last month. I think it's very great. Yeah, but I made 10,000, so it's better. You know, you don't want that type of person. You don't want to brag in that sense. But it's very important to be able to brag about yourself in networking, but don't make them think that you're trying to be too obnoxious about it. So try to put it in a smooth way. So learn to talk about yourself, like your success, without being cocky or sounding too flashy. So, oh, someone say something? Oh no, no. Let's hear. I'm gonna admit. No. Okay, I know this guy. Okay. So, okay, trash man, be quiet, man. So what you should try to do instead of trying to be in a conversation with someone who's into business and just saying, yeah, I made 5 million last month and I created so much value for this company last month. You should try to flow it into your conversation. Maybe ask you, oh, where's your office? They say, oh, which one do you mean? I have 3 of them currently. It's going quite well for me. So try to just flow it in at a casual sense. Maybe ask you something about your revenue or how you help this client or what do you do currently? Oh, I provided this much value to my client last month. I think it was this much money. Then you don't sound too cocky and you don't say it out of nowhere and you put it into a concept where it basically sticks. It shouldn't stick out like a sore thumb. It should try to help you to increase your chance of basically clients like closing a deal. Because the only time you should ever start bragging about yourself, it is someone basically belittling you, like belittling you. You know, someone who's trying to see they're so much better than you. He starts making fun of you, or starts saying, yeah, he's not making any money. Then you can start bragging about yourself. But never do that to someone you want to really make business with. That's what I believe at least. And you don't even have to do it to someone who's pushing you down. But yeah, I think it's very important. Try to brag about yourself in some senses, and it's gonna end up quite well for you because people want to basically associate themselves with good people, and if they don't know what good things you've done, they can't associate themselves with it. So yeah, try to brag about yourself, but don't be too obnoxious about it. I think that's probably the most important thing about networking I could cover to you today, and I want to basically exterminate on this part. This one is very important. Try to use this one as much as you can. And these senses here, I think you got a lot of like a better understanding on how you can use them, and in which ways you can basically use them yourself, and which ones you are. So, Carl, Carl, hello.
Yes. Yeah, I was just muted.
Okay, it's fine. So, if I start asking you this question first there, because I think it's fun to incorporate some people in the server as well. If you have to say which ones of these 6, if you pick 2 of them, which ones do you think is the most useful, and which 2 do you think yourself is using right now?
Ooh, that's hard. That's really. I mean, useful. That definitely has to depend on your personality.
Yeah, that's completely true. Because not everyone can be a comedian, and that's such a good one. But which one do you think is most useful then?
You know what? Maybe. Yes, in general, I think maybe the man or the detective could be the most useful.
Okay, and what do you base that by?
I mean, the man I'm basing on having a great reputation and people around saying how good you are. Of course, that's gonna make it way easier to make business with people who you're interested in.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the promoter is also quite good, or yeah, the promoter I think is very important because when someone in your social circle constantly talks about how good someone is, basically, you will soon start to give that guy a chance. Like if, for example, your parents or if your girlfriend starts constantly talking about how good this guy is at business, then I think you soon enough will be a little bit tired of hearing them say how good he is, and then they'll probably give him the opportunity to talk, you know?
So that's pretty similar to the man than the promoter.
Yeah, it's quite similar, but the promoter is that they befriend those people. The man is that he has such a good reputation that they know about him already.
Okay, yeah.
So the man I would probably say is more useful for the people who already succeeded and has a little bit more of a presence, while the promoter is better for the people who wants to start being the man.
Yeah.
Yo,
Okay.
Issa or Adam or anyone else who wants to put in? Issa, you here? I think it's Mike maybe. No, it's a little bit late maybe. Keen, you here, man? Keenan. Oh, I think Issa. Issa, is your mic not working? I think it's he's unmuted himself and muted himself.
Hallå, jag kommer strax. Jag ska hämta en dricka.
Go for it, Jordan. Pontus.
But I mean,
Ja,
at
man.
this,
Yeah, man.
Yeah, what do you say, Carl?
Start talking Swedish, man.
I was just gonna say that I can still see how the comedian can be very effective if you have a nice personality.
The comedian. Yeah, I think the comedian is very useful, but I don't think everyone is funny, unfortunately.
Yo, you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're here now, Issa.
Okay, so I'd probably say the man since he includes all of these traits.
Oh.
Don't you agree?
Hmm.
I mean, that's the no. I mean, let me ask you something.
Mhm.
Which one do you think that would mostly make you angry? In case I didn't call you for that one.
Okay, which
If
one
I-
I
if
would
I-
much like to know if you, for example, had to recommend someone, you mean?
No. Give me a second. I will ask you. I will ask it in a better question. in a better way. So, would you be angry if I told you that you're bad at flirting? No, you wouldn't. Would you be angry if I told you that you're bad at detecting? I don't think so. Would you be angry if I told you that you're bad at promoting? Nope. Success? Nope. Comedy? Nope. But maybe if I told you that you aren't a man, then what would you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too happy about that, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd probably prioritize that one.
Yeah, the only hard part about the man is that you have to first become great to be able to be it.
Well, that's the fun part.
Yeah, and I think the other tools are probably more useful to be able to become the man and the success. But I think these two are very important when you actually get.
Exactly.
I think the success
They
and the man is probably the best to basically complement with the comedian.
exactly they are like they associate. So a man is like at the top, and then success is probably built by the first, second, third, and sixth ones.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there actually. It was a good example you brought up.
Yeah, thanks.
Akhnam.
Yeah. Well, of course, the comedian is really powerful. That's a really powerful tool. But like you said, not many people are born to be a comedian, so not many people will have to use it really. So it will be hard for many people. But if you are really the man, if you can do the things and pull them off no matter what, I believe like you can get everything done, and it will complete like compound to being a comedian. Of course, that's what I believe, at least.
I agree with you on that part as well, because yeah, I think the man is probably the most powerful, but it's probably the hardest to become.
Exactly,
Definitely.
and the hardest to become is always the most effective and the one you will get the furthest with.
Yeah, and then if you match the man with some other of these skills, for example, like the detective or the promoter, or maybe even the comedian, you can become extremely like viable.
But I see
Exactly.
a massive flaw with the comedian one.
Which what is it?
I mean, except for the fact that you actually have to be funny and interesting and charismatic and actually be able to talk to the person on a different level and make them feel like special and happy and laugh and everything.
Mhm.
Even if you manage to do all of that, it's kind of like off topic, taking it off business, making it look not as serious.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
potentially say that actually.
You
yeah, but
wouldn't?
the thing is, if you're too serious all the time, they will just think about you as the business. They need to like trust you as a human too, because if they can connect with you on another level, it's that level of trust they will have to you, and they will always rely on you all the time.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what I like to think is that when people think of business networking as something that always is very professional, I thought about that as well. I thought it really was super like strict and super professional, where everyone just talks about what they do and you have to be so strict and formal, blah blah blah. When I actually was on the first business networking events, and all of them I've been to currently, it never is like you think it's gonna be. It's not that everyone always talks about their success, everyone always talks about business. It's a lot of this casual conversation, small talk. They talk about, oh, what do you think about the game? Oh, it was so fun. Oh, someone drags a joke. Someone talks about politics, which I think is a little bit funny. Maybe they talk about feminists in Sweden, for example, and they all start laughing. You know, it's a lot of these things, and it's not always too serious. And the person who always ends up with the most amounts of networks is always the comedian, because when he constantly makes everyone laugh, they will start connecting him to basically be in the center of the room, and people will become a little bit more interesting on how he's making everyone laugh, and people who's not even in their conversation will start talking about him, you know. Yeah, what did he say? Was that funny? Yeah, what are you talking about over there? And they start slowly walking towards them. I was talking with a very funny guy, this business meeting basically, when I was in Global Invest. It was a football game we watched, and he was constantly dragging up these very fun jokes and made everyone laugh. And soon enough, we were just talking, like basically three of us talking. Then one more came and said, "Oh, what's so funny over here? I heard a lot of laughs here." Then one more came, and then one more came, and soon enough we were 20 people just sitting here and just talking together, you know. So being fun attracts a lot of people. That's what I'm trying to mean, you know. Do you get it,
Yeah,
Cal?
I guess what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe that the comedian one is probably the most effective in a person, though.
Yeah, it probably is. But I don't think it's viable for everyone, because if you're very boring and it's just gonna be cringe for you. To be completely
Yeah,
honest.
you're trying to make a joke, no one laughs.
Yeah, don't try to be a comedian if you aren't a comedian. Then you should just be very good at this and don't be annoying, I'd probably say.
Yeah.
Isaac, I need you, man. let's see here. Isaac, I know you wanna talk, man. Okay, actually, okay, you wrote in chat. He's already. Everyone has already said what he wants to say. Pontus, do you have anything to add on this?
No, I think you've said it. Like the comedian is very powerful, as well as the man is like the final thing that you want to be, and that is the most effective. But I will also say like the success and the man. That's like it speaks for yourself. Like you don't have to say too much. People like they already know your reputation, and that way you can gain more from that. But also, as you said, the promoter I think is really powerful in that sense that everybody is talking about you around the specific person.
Exactly.
Um,
I myself, if you aren't successful in business currently, in networking, I think a combination of the promoter and the detective. Not everyone can be a promoter, that I can tell you, because not everyone is the person who has the time to be able to befriend everyone in their circle and get to know everyone there. But if you have the time and really are very interested in networking, if you're able to master these two, I hope you learned something in this meeting actually, because I think if you put this into practice, it's very useful. I taught you. The detective and the promoter together can complete so much for you. Because if you learn everything about a person, and then you get to know everything about them, and you get to know what their friends are, who their closest people are, who they do business with, and then you get to know what they like. Then you start buying their favorite wine, maybe their favorite car, like I talked about before, maybe their favorite cigars. Then their friends will like you, and then your final goal maybe is talking about the guy you want, and then he starts to like you, and then you become in more situations. Maybe you only befriend one of their friends, so you have like 6 different options, or maybe beginning in a circle with the person you want. Because if you don't maybe land every hit on like the first person you want, you can land a hit with one of his friends, and you have bigger chance of basically connecting with him in another sense. You know, it gives you more chances. So I think the detective and the promoter is very good. Hiad, Grian, or Keenan. I saw you unmute your mic, Keen. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like you kind of went over everything. I wasn't here for a portion of it, so I can't put my full thoughts in. But yeah, I completely agree. As a person that I'd consider myself someone that is not bad at all with networking. Yeah, I think you hit like every single thing that there is.
Well, that's good to hear. Then I at least did a good presentation for you. I think a lot of value, then I presume.
Yeah.
But I know you're a big networker, Keen. I know you're going all these car meetups. You got a lot of these deals with multi-millionaires. You're doing a lot of like good deals with insurance, stuff like that. Keen, if you had to tell them something about networking and also which types you think you are personally, what would you tell them?
So I would say figure out who you are as a person and try and incorporate as many different aspects of these as you can. So if you find yourself good at one, stick with that, but also try and incorporate the other ones too. But it all comes down to being a guy or this person of value that provides value to people that you're around. Be someone that people want to be around. And yeah, just be a likable person.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. Because what I think you tried to bring up there basically was that you should never try to become one of these you naturally aren't. Like if you aren't funny,
Yeah.
you should never try to become the comedian. You should find which ones suit your personality style, because even if people don't want to agree on this, everyone is born with certain qualifications which make them better at certain things. That's why not everyone can become an ABA star. If you're like 150 centimeters, you can't become the best basketball player in the world. But you always have something you can become very great at. So try to find what matches your personality and like your skill set the best, and then stick with that. Don't try to become the comedian if you're not too funny. Don't think of yourself as very unfunny, because then you'll have bad confidence. But know your limits and don't try to be something you aren't, because it's no point of being the man either if you aren't the man currently. Because you don't have the reputation to be able to think you're like the best at everything. You know, you can't be the success if you're not successful. You can't be the flirt if you're not good with your words. You can't be the detective if you don't even do any research. You can't be the promoter if you don't want to put in any time. You can't be any of this if you aren't basically the type of personality you want for them, you know? Do you have anything more to add, Robbie, maybe? Or which one do you think is most important?
Yeah, I think as you said, like promoter and detective, or like the man, I also think is great
But you
because
do like clock sales. That's very high ticket sales. What do you do currently when you like network?
I would say like the man. It's like in the Swedish clothing community because I also sell high-end clothing a bit. Like people have started to want to buy watches, like, and it's actually happened quite many times that people have recommended me because I'm the only one like in that area that has done high-end clothing that's already a bit big in watches. So people recommend me, and yeah, I'm the man, if you say it like that. And I also try to promote myself like the man, like the man, even if I'm not the man. You know,
Yeah, I get you.
like it's good to make yourself look better than you actually are, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's no point of
In my
showcasing your
opinion.
weaknesses in networking. That's I can tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you just say you're big, if you say you're the best watch guy in Sweden, like people won't really sit. Like I don't say that I'm the best guy in Sweden, but like people, even if I say, people would just sit and ask a bunch of questions. They maybe that I don't know, but one of the best. Let's say it like that. Not the best. People wouldn't really sit and ask many questions. They would just go with it and buy a watch.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And
If you
when
know
you
what I
are the
mean.
man, you don't really need too much of these things, because what usually happens when you're good at networking is that you gain some of the people. Yeah, maybe have like 10 of these guys, and you don't have to do any networking yourself anymore when you build yourself up to the man. Because what happens is that you have a lot of this great reputation. You know, everyone knows you're very great. You built a lot of reputation. People know your success. People know that you're very relevant. You're seen everywhere. You bought gifts. You've done all of that stuff. You know you're a great guy to do business with. Then they start recommending you to their friends, and their friends start recommending you to their friends, and it becomes a big reputation. And someone hears of you about basically like in a networking event, and that guy knows about you from that place, and then organically you will gain a lot of leads, and you don't have to do so much work yourself. So try to build yourself up to the man and do all these things until you can become the man, and then success will automatically, I can guarantee this 100%, come to you without doing any work if you just invest this couple of hours here in the beginning. Maybe buy a couple of wine bottles. My friend, for example, like with the cars, and also with the cigars and the wine, I think he bought that for about $5,000, and he's made so much more than that just from doing it. That I can promise you. So try to incorporate these things to becoming the man, and then after that everything will flow quite smoothly for you. That I think at least.
Yeah, and like something else, people will trust you a lot more when you're the man. Like normally when you buy a, let's say, $3,000 jacket, people would want a legit check, a reference check, and everything. Like now, people don't even ask me. They know it's legit. They don't ask about the conditions. Like they trust the conditions I tell them. But before, when I didn't have the name, people would just sit for 3 hours, ask me for legit checks and everything. So that's also a big advantage. The deals will go way smoother,
Yeah,
I
I
think.
I agree with you that on fully as well. I think that's a very good one, especially in export import, for example, which I do. If you, for example, befriend a manufacturer who wants to buy your maybe your, let's say for example, your potatoes, let's say that for simplicity, then he will the first time need all this type of stuff because he's never heard of you before. You basically did cold outreach for him. He will need your references. He will need to do samples with you. He will need to do quality checks. He will need to do standard precautions. He will need to do all these contracts. He will do all of these annoying things. Will take a lot of time from you, and he will not focus as much on the business with you the first years you do business with them. But if you already know the person, maybe you're being recommended a guy from one of your other manufacturing friends you have who does the same with potatoes, then you know that your friend is already doing business with him. You know he's recommended him to you, and you trust the person who's recommended it to you. Then you won't ask as many questions, and all the business you ever do when you are the man will flow much easier for you. That I have to really recommend to you. So if you try to befriend them and maybe ask for referrals, it's much easier than finding completely new leads. So referrals is very useful. Let's see here. Shola, is your mic currently quite bad, or do you have anything to add? Because I know sometimes your mic is bugging a bit. I think it's maybe bugging. Shola. Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, oh, that's annoying. Yo, Smurfy. Smurfy, hello. What's happening? I think some people, I've gotten two messages from people that can't unmute your mics. It's annoying. Let's see here.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Good. Do you hear us?
Again?
Do you hear us, Shola?
I can hear you.
That's amazing. So how long have you been staying here, just so I know like what point you are in,
As in,
like in the meeting currently?
yeah. I've been there since the beginning. In
So
the beginning.
which ones do you think you use currently, and what do you think is most useful from actually using it yourself?
So what I think, well, the best option there is to have a bit of every option, being, the flirt, the detective, the promoter, the success, the comedian. And I do believe that all that eventually potentially makes you the man, right? I think Cal said something like this before. You have, like, to be the man, you have to be well-rounded in every, I guess, aspect or metric in your life or in life in general. So having a bit of these skills, the flirt, the detective, promoter, success, and the comedian, will make you the man. So, what I am, that's a tough one. I'd say, I think dang, okay. I'd say I'm the bit of the.
I think your internet is quite cutting off right now. Does anyone? Do you guys hear him?
Yeah, it's lagging.
Yeah, it's lagging a lot, Shola. I think it's your your internet currently. Yeah, it is. Oh, that's so annoying. What's wrong with the internet currently, man? I live in Sweden. It's not a bad country for internet. I'm also lagging a little bit. Do you guys hear me fine? Like Robin, do you hear me good?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, so Carl, in your networking, which one would you probably say is the most useful for you?
I would probably say the man. I mean, yes, in general, having a good reputation will make people want to work with you. I think it's also, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, it's the hardest one to achieve. And also the success one is probably the best because if people know you're good in what you're doing, you're reliable, you can give results, then of course people are gonna want to work with you.
Exactly. I agree with you on that part, but in your own networking, like what do you mostly do, like from your experience?
So if I'm gonna see this from a standpoint of exporting,
Yeah.
as we're currently doing, I would probably say success is very important because if you
Oh
have a
yeah,
name
that's
for
super
yourself,
important, yeah.
exactly, that you're reliable, you can help everyone out, you can do everything on time, you give high quality goods, then yeah, then you're gonna be very successful in that market.
Oh yeah, I agree. Wait, I think Shola is back now. Does it work now for you, Shola? I don't think it will. Yep, the internet went again. Oh, that's
Hello?
annoying. Yeah, does it work now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good. I think your mic cut out a little bit there when you started explaining which you I thought it was quite good what you talked about there. Yeah, it's gone again, Shola. Just ping us when you think it's working, and we can go back to you if you want. I think it's probably the smartest. That's good. So I think these ones you should really put an exclamation on as well. Being seen, I think a lot of people like forget this one. So I think Keen is very keen on this one. It's quite rhyming as well. Because I know Keenan is getting seen everywhere. Like everyone is car shows, they'll probably see him anywhere. And like, if you ever are on a car show in where he lives, you'll probably see Keen. Like I just see his Instagram stories every time, every day, every night, every morning. He's always watching these cars, and it's like everywhere all the time. And I promise you, people will start asking, "Who's this guy always watching these cars?" And soon enough, they will start asking like a conversation with them. And yeah, it's quite good. What do you say, Keenan? Like everyone sees you everywhere, right?
Yeah. Be seen in places that people want to be seen in, or people don't get seen in. Also, you want to be in the places where if you're seen there, people are wondering how the hell is he there,
Yeah.
right? So, in my scenario, I've done so well networking at these places you previously mentioned that I'm now driving Lamborghinis. I'm driving Porsches, and I'm frequently seen in like these types of cars, and people understand that I just turned 18, right? And they're like, "Who is this kid, and how the hell is he, one, in that car, and two, talking to these people like he knows them?" You know?
Exactly, like I said before with my networking events, like people start asking, "Who's this kid being in all these investment calls, and who's this guy who's always being there?" Like you stick out.
Mhm.
I think it was very important what you brought up there. Like you don't want to be seen everywhere. If you're, for example, in like a Volvo dealership or a like end of a street corner, that's creepy. You know, you don't want to be seen sitting in a bus
Yeah.
station all the time. You know, you want to be in high net worth places or high status places because then they will connect that to you. It always brings up to this. They want to connect you with something, and you get connected to what you are around. Like I said before, if you're always connected to, for example, making people laugh, you'll be connected to a funny person and also making people happy. So be connected to someone that's great for you, and don't be connected like your social platform for having face tats and hanging around in street corners. You know.
Yeah, you have to be extremely conscious of not only where, like, being seen in a good light, as you mentioned, but you also have to be extremely conscious of where you're being seen in general. You don't want to be seen doing a lot of different things, right? Like,
Yeah, like that.
any of these bad habits, you don't want to be seen doing them,
Yeah,
or
correct.
even around people doing them.
I agree with you there. I think Ree here. Ree, you're here, right? Is your mic also been able to unmute? I see you're writing to me in Discord currently.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. I know you have a quite particular story. You want to tell them a little bit? Because I know you had a lot of value to provide to the people. What do you think of what we brought up today? Have you been here from the start?
I've been
What is it with everyone's internet today? It's annoying.
which one you should be, man or? Can you hear me?
Yeah, here now, yeah.
So I heard about being the man, being the promoter. I believe for me it depends. It could be. It depends on the environment you are in. You could be the man. You could be the. If you're in
I think your internet is bugging a little bit. If you want to take it
a
later,
lot
we
of
can get it
people,
fixed. I understand that as well.
so okay, I'll make sure. Wait,
What's wrong with everyone's internet? It's quite.
can you hear me?
I hear you better now, yeah.
Gustav,
So
can
I
you hear me
said
now?
it
Yeah,
depends.
Smurfy. Yeah.
So basically, it depends. You can't be the man in like an environment with more successful people than you. So yeah, that's what I believe. It depends. It just depends.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, correct? Because you might be able to be the
Yeah.
man in a smaller city where everyone's net worth is like 2 to 5 million. But when you start playing in the big leagues, for example, when you're hanging around with people who have 200 million, 300 million, maybe 2 billion, 3 billion, then you shouldn't think you are the man, my friend, because you aren't the man no more. You have to think of your situation and where you are, and don't think you are anything like a comedian or the man or the success, especially these two, the success and the man, if you're in a situation where you aren't the success or the man. Because it's always going to be someone bigger than you, and if you aren't in like a smaller city, for example, where I am, or if you are in a huge capital city like Dubai, you shouldn't think you're the man like anytime, you know? Because it's always going to be
Yeah,
people better
true.
than
It
you.
just depends.
Exactly, that was a good point
Yeah,
you brought up
true.
there. Because it's not, you cannot always be a man, you know? Because you're not always the best at it.
Yeah.
Yo, Smurfy. I think your mic is fixed now. What did you say? What do you think currently? You've been here from the start, right? Smurfy, hello? Oh, I think it's gone again. Yep. Oh, it's so annoying today. I've gotten so many DMs that their mics are bugging. I think it's the unmuting part. Saif, you here, man? Or is it too late for you? Yeah, let's hear. I got a DM as well. Yeah, Smoothie can talk in 1 minute, so we'll give him a minute and then we'll maybe go over to let's see here, Pontus. Pontus. Okay, he's on toilet. Yeah, he sent me that 5 minutes ago. Yo, Carl.
Yes.
Which part do you think is the most useful of everything we brought up here? So I know which ones I should like really try to bring up to the people.
I mean, the thing we just went over, I think would be the most useful by far. Everything's informative, but choosing the way you want to network is probably the most useful out of everything you brought up.
I think the most useful one is gift yourself to the top and what vehicles you should use to try to do all of these things. Because this one I know myself has brought me a lot of value. This and being
Match with
seen
the
is
detective.
very important. Especially this one. So try to give yourself to the top. You get a huge return on it. And it's such an easy way to do it. It costs so little money and you always get a bigger return. Don't think of it as like a return in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or a day or a month. Think of it of over a time of like a year or 2 years or 3 years, because they will not
But
forget it.
doesn't that also kind of like apply to what I'm saying? Like I was talking about the networking, different ways you can network. Like I kind of apply that to the same.
Wait, the gifting?
Yeah.
Yeah, you really can. Like all of these things I brought up here is certain parts of every of these styles I brought up.
Yeah.
So everything has to do with sort of like this is the detective, and then if you use this one, it's the detective and the comedian. If, for example, you take the reputation of being an expert, you're the man and the success. If you're being extremely helpful, you're a bit of a detective also because you've had to find out what you're being helpful in and stuff like that. Then we have don't invite them to your like place too early. That's also the bit of the detective, and also like the flirt to be able to invite them to this place. The flirt is always like overlooked, but it's very important because if you aren't good with your words, you can't really come anywhere in networking. Keen to details is a little bit of the detective as well. You see what they're having, you see that you can make conversations about it. And then after that, you start implying, like, yeah, I see your watch there. It's a Omega Speedmaster. Then you start a conversation in that part. So it's a lot of these things it's good to take in consideration. I think this one is probably the most useful one I taught you all today. Because if you are a big connector, if you can connect them to the best in every field and area, then you will gain a lot of reputation of being a good person because they will connect you to that feeling. Keenan, for example, he knows a lot of people in the car space, and I know if I ever need any help with that, I can just ask him. So that's a good one. Now I think here, Smoothie, does your mic work?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, so do you
Sorry
want to
for the disturbance.
No, it's fine, bro. It's a lot of these mics not working today, unfortunately, but what do you think is most important?
To be honest, I think like having a reputation will help you a lot in like relationship and business and stuff like that. Definitely think that the man is the most useful. I also think that, you know, if you're a comedian, you will obviously get the reputation of being a funny guy and stuff like that. So I would say that the man and the comedian is the most important sort of charms to have.
I completely agree with you. And if we take someone who's not been in this call for too long here, I know EA and Adam, they haven't been to many meetings. Did you learn something about networking today, EA or Adam? I don't know if your mic currently working because the mic problems here is a little bit big. Yeah, this is probably your first meeting, correct?
Yeah.
What do you think? Did you learn something about networking?
Yes. I think that the man is also really like good model because your reputation is like key, and if you fuck your reputation up, it doesn't usually end good.
That's a good point. Like it takes a lot of work to. Yeah, oh, that was actually very good of you, because it takes a lot of time, like a super lot of time, to build a reputation. But as you see with all these Hollywood stars and all these actors, it just takes one scandal to take all your reputation away from you. So if you build yourself to the man, and then you scam or maybe does a bad job with someone, that bad job you just created, I promise you, more people want to talk about your failures than want to talk about your success, because humans in nature are quite negative. So I would probably say that if you build yourself up to the man, don't take the risk of doing some business with some shady person. You now have the opportunities to do business with anyone you like, most likely. So don't pick bad quality persons, because they will soon enough, I can promise you, something will come up that will bring your reputation down, and that can take off all your hard work of becoming the man. And if one rumor starts spreading, a lot of these opportunities come away from you. For example, like Johnny Depp, he doesn't get any sponsorships anymore from like these fashion brands, from these movies or anything like that. So be careful about this.
True.
That's good. Yeah, it was very great that you brought it up, AA. I hope to see you more in these meetings. Adam, you here, man?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
What would you say? Do you have anything more to add on, like EA did?
Yeah, I like the comedian because you only want to do business with people you like.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
being funny
That's also
makes
a good
people
one.
like you.
Exactly. Now I think a lot of these have things to do with each other, and I think all of them are important in its own sense. I think the flirt gets a little bit overlooked because it's just being good with your words and being a little bit risky. But Aknam, you here, man? Aknam? Let's see here. I think maybe Mike as well. I'm gonna message him. Hello there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
good. So this is also your first meeting, correct?
Yeah.
What would you say is the most important thing you've dragged out from this? What do you think is the most important lesson if you learn anything about networking?
I mean, like I have done some, so I would say definitely the man, because when you have the contacts and everything, it's much easier to like get people to work with you. Of course, the comedian is of course really good, but if you aren't the man first, I believe you will still have. Uh, I mean, it's definitely easier to be the comedian than the other, like the flirts and stuff. But if you have the man and the comedian, that combo is unimaginably good. So, but of course, I believe like if you are the man, you will definitely find jobs easier, and you will definitely get jobs. That's for sure. With comedian, you might, if you just overdo the comedian stuff, crack jokes about something that they don't like. You know, you can turn you can poke the red bottom for some people, and it can go bad, but it can also help you a lot. So, but I believe that the man is the one you truly need to have every aspect of to come far away.
I think that was very good as well. And every time one of you guys talk, you bring something up in my mind which I think is useful. So I like to bring up these dating advices because dating has a lot to do with networking. It might sound a little bit goofy, but dating and networking is basically the same thing. Because dating, if you know the exact essence of what dating is basically finding someone you want to do business with in its own sense. Basically, like become girlfriend and boyfriend with, or maybe marry yourself with them. Because you want to find someone you actually like to do that. And networking is basically the same. You want to build a relationship there as well. Now that's why dating and business is quite close. And just like Akhnam said, you have to be the man to have easier times of being the comedian. So one example you can see very easily, which I think is unfortunately quite sad, is that if you've ever seen an attractive woman and an ugly guy come up to her, the chances of that ugly guy, for example, let's say he says anything, it's much higher certainty that the girl would take that as a creepy compliment or a creepy thing he said, or maybe something that's just a little bit outlandish when he says it, because he says from an ugly person. So she connects that with him being creepy or maybe being a little bit scary for her. But if a more attractive man comes up and says the exact same thing, I've seen this so many times. An ugly man can say the exact same joke as an attractive man, and they will get so different treatments. Like the girl said, "Oh no, you're creepy, go away from me." And if the attractive guy says the exact same pickup line, the girl will start giving him her number, or they will go on a date. So you get a lot of slack for being a man, and your jokes will fall through a lot easier because you have a reputation, and people wants to become more friends with you, so they might laugh at your jokes and try to find you even more funny because you actually have a big reputation. So becoming the man helps you in all these aspects, because just like dating, people find everything more attractive if you have a good reputation. But the same could be said about networking as well. I think that's probably a good way to end this off. I got a DM here from a question. Let's see here. Okay, no, it's completely fine there. So the question was basically, if to basically go on a networking event in Tokyo Shibuya here, how would you go about it? I don't know here. Do you guys want me to cover this now on how to go about it? Do you think I should cut the meeting off right now and we talk about this, about the networking event more specifically at just everyone who wants to stay? What do you think?
I think it's better to take it at the next meeting when people are here and you can prepare for it more.
Yeah, I think so maybe as well. So
Meeting is getting kind of long.
yeah, I know. I just had a lot of things to cover here, and I think networking is so important, and it's quite fun that a lot of you guys stay. I think I provide a lot of value that you could use at least. So I'll end everything off like saying this. I thank you all for coming to this meeting. I hope you learned something new about networking. I hope you can encourage basically these things. If you want to, basically me sharing it to you, basically sharing you the presentation of how you can use all of these things. And if you want the presentation so you can look back at it, feel free to DM me and I can send it to you. Okay, here I've already got 2 DMs, so that's perfect. And I'll check back over this and I'll post on YouTube, of course. So thank you everyone for coming on the basically 13th annual meeting for the Paradise Group, and I hope you learned something new, and yeah, hope to see you. Okay, there we cut to the YouTube off, and now